Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. And we're going to get right into these stock charts. We've got a couple things moving around and there's some stocks starting to break trend. I want to point those out early this morning so that everyone has an opportunity to do their own analysis and see what's going on. But before we do, I want to point out a comment that I made in the video yesterday talking about percentages up and down. Obviously, lots of people called me out on my math. And my math obviously was wrong. The point I was trying to make, a lot of the time I make these videos, I'm looking at the charts, I'm analyzing things, I'm talking through what I'm thinking at the moment. Doesn't always come out perfectly, and sometimes I don't even realize, that I made a mistake. So yesterday I said that if something falls from $10 to $5, it's fallen 100%. What I was trying to iterate, the point of what I was trying to say, besides the percentages being completely wrong, I was trying to make the point that if something falls, it takes twice as much essentially to get back up to break even. So if if something falls from $10 to $5, it's a 50% drop. And if it goes from to get back to $10, you have to go from $5 to $10, which is essentially double, which would be a 100% increase. That's the point that I was trying to make. My math was wrong, but I'm typically on these things not trying to, we're not trying to do arithmetic here. I'm trying to point out concepts, ideas, and then let everyone kind of, anticipate them. But it's good to know that lots of people are listening to the specifics of what I'm saying. And so thank you for calling me on that. Let's get into the charts now for today. So, all right, NASDAQ futures, here's what we got. Trend line kind of came down this morning, just still holding within trend. Nothing to write home about there, still within trend. Here's the SPY futures, which I think are back testing. Now, this is the futures, so just, this is the recent kind of uptrend we've been in. Breakdown right here, back test, kind of recovered it, doing another back test. I really want to see those NASDAQ futures go before I, jump the gun on the SPY. The NASDAQ's been strong. That's the strength. I'm looking for weakness in the NASDAQ to give a clear signal. So we'll see what happens there. But back testing now. Here's the Russell futures, the RTY, just down, basically sell off and then a recovery. So nothing going on there. Russell futures are just pretty much sideways, basically. Volatility is continuing to increase. Here's your UVXY continuing to increase. Not impulsive though. This thing typically when it's going to get a breakout, it's going to run, you'll see it with a nice big green candle. And we're just seeing volatility kind of creep higher. I don't really like that. I want to see this thing explode higher. That's typically how this thing, works. If I go back there, you can see when you start to creep and then you get some sort of a gap and then it just runs. So maybe we need a gap. I'm looking for that. That would come with some sort of impulsive sell-off in the markets. So until then, I do not own this. I'm looking for a back test of the trend line or some sort of, this might have been it right here. That might have been your back test right there. Didn't quite get there and people stepped in and bought it. But I'm not seeing the signs in the market selling off quite yet. So here's Qs. Okay, Qs here. I have this upper trend line. It's not my favorite. I just marked it out. I don't know if it's going to hold, but because I don't have a lot of data points on this recent price channel. We've got one right here, one cluster right in here, a reaction right there, and then today looks like we got a reaction where we overshot and then sold back down and recovered. Now we're starting to, continuing to sell down. So I'm going to leave it and to see if I get any more reactions around it. But for now, the one I'm really looking at is this one down here. I want to see a breakdown of this trend line right here. And if this breaks, that should set the Qs in motion to come down to this other trend line that it's been in. This is the rally trend line right here that it's been in since, April, basically. Lots of reactions along that trend line. So if we break this first one, I think there's a trade to come down and tag this trend line, and then we'll wait and see. When this trend line goes, that's potentially the larger correction that's, pretty much due, but hasn't happened yet. And here's SPY, continuing to show, strength, grinding higher. What's happening today is there's actually a little bit more weakness in tech and strength across the board, across really the entire market. Here's the S&P 500 heat map, and you can see everything's, pretty strong except for Apple. So we continue to see this rotation game that's being played where it's FANG stocks rallying, then they're weak or they kind of hold sideways, and then the market rallies. And that continues to be the case. So that's why the market continues to kind of inch higher or move higher, basically, because FANG stocks, and then, they move out. Now today's just generally a pretty strong day. You just have Apple selling off, but Apple has such a strong weighting that it's not allowing the market to run too much. But the rest of the FANGs are up. So in general, strong open at least. So we'll see how this thing closes out. XLV here continues to chop sideways. It's broken this bearish rising wedge here, but it's continuing to chop sideways. If we move this line up here, it looks like it's continuing to do some yeah, you can see here's your resistance up here. It's held here. We're going to go ahead, it's held here, and, it's just doing another back test. So it continues to grind and chop at resistance. You can see all through here, it's just been right at resistance. So in general, that's strong. Typically when you consolidate or hover below resistance like that, maybe you're building energy to break to the upside. So nothing I'm going to do on this one for now. I'm just going to continue to watch it. XLF continues to do the same thing where here's your trend going back in March, and you had a reaction here, reaction right here. It recently broke, and it's just been back testing underneath resistance. So this obviously can continue to just move higher below resistance and then recover or fail until you see that distinctive move. I don't think there's anything to do on this one either. Here's Tesla. This is interesting. I did take a short position on this one. And here's what happened. So this is an hourly chart. We've had this uptrend. This is kind of the most recent leg of the rally. Zooming out, Tesla's been just, out of control basically. And you can see here, this is a daily chart. And it's just moved higher right there. This was the consolidation period. Back before the split, this is where it was consolidating around the $1,500 area. And then we had this most recent leg higher. But you can see if I move into the hourly, this is your uptrend. A couple reactions along this trend line. Here's the start of the rally, reaction, and then we broke. So clear breakdown here on the hourly. That's impulsive. And, there was some volume that came in as well. And so, now what does this do? Well, it could back test. There's a lot of people looking to buy the dip here. So maybe they force a back test and then it rolls over. Or it could just, could roll over. I mean, the momentum has been very strong to the upside on this. So if that changes or we start to see a shift in momentum, expect everyone to run out of this thing quickly. But they won't do it at first. Usually this thing has to kind of work its way lower, and then you'll see the waterfall selling where that momentum just shifts and everybody realizes that they're starting to lose money. But looks like a good area for at least for the short term. So I'm going to take a shot at it here and see if we can't get this thing to come down a little bit. Where does this thing go? There's lots of gaps. If I go to the daily, the gaps would be good targets. Lots of gaps along the way up. You've got gaps. Really, these are the two most prominent, and there's one way down here, but you've got a gap here at 246.11. You also have a gap here at 224, it's about 225. And then you have a gap way down here at 131. So if the air comes out of this thing, then I would expect, to hit this 131. Until then, I think these gaps right in here seem like pretty good targets. So those are going to be pretty substantial drops from where we're at right now. That would be, a 44% drop to hit the first one, and a 49% drop to hit the second one, and then obviously the third one is about a 70% drop. So that would happen if the momentum really started to come out, and we're going to continue to watch this. Here's Adobe. Here's the March lows right here, and here was the rally. Broke that trend right there. There's your breakdown. It was an impulsive breakdown, but because the market's been so strong, and really the FANG stocks, and this thing is market, it's indexed. The people are buying the FANGs, and they're buying the indexes, and the indexes have to buy everything. So this continues to be bought. So it looks like it's ran up and did a back test. Hasn't fully completed the back test. So maybe there's another leg higher, and it wants to run up and tag this trend line and do a full back test. And then I would expect a failure up around that level. So I'm watching for that one. Want to point this one out. DocuSign. I just took a trade on it. I got short. Here's what I like about it. Daily chart here. You've got daily nice impulsive trend line moving up, going back to the March lows. This is one of those pandemic stocks, or stay at home stocks. And the point is, it's had a monster run. So this thing's not going to go up forever. I mean, from the lows here in March to where it's at, really as of today, 331%. That's a crazy run in just a matter of months. So, I think the air needs to come out of some of these. And what I'm seeing now in this one is negative divergence. You can see it here. A little bit of a pop there, but still keeping the negative divergence in the RSI. Negative divergence. Oh, if I can mark that out, negative divergence there in the PPO. You can see there. So lower and lower momentum as price has continued to move higher. So here's your first mountain peak. Here's your next, and you can see prices made a marginal high right there. And then on this one here, it popped up and prices made marginal high right here. So negative divergence, momentum moving down, prices moving up, and we broke trend back here. Here's your breakdown, and this is a daily chart. So this is firmer resistance than what an hourly chart might provide. Broke trend here, and you had 4 days of selling. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Nice impulsive sell down right there. Then you ran up and did a back test, and we overshot right here on the daily. You can see today opened up higher, sold off, and closed back below resistance. If I narrow it down to the hourly chart, you can see right there. Here's your open above that resistance, instant sell off. And then the next candle ran up and did a back test. Here's a back test of the resistance and selling off now. So looks good. Should hold. Basically this is the trend line I'm watching to hold. I expect resistance to hold here, and then we work our way lower. Probably going to fill this gap. I would say is the easiest, closest target, highest probability target. And that gap sits at 224.64. Where we're at right now, that is about a 16% drop. So I think that's the trade I'll look for, and take some profit there. I might let a little bit more run. We'll see what we get at that point, but that's a trade idea. And again, everything here is just my ideas. Nothing is advice, just my opinion. And just to show you guys how I trade this, here I find my trend lines on my other charts, which I use TradingView, and then I mark those out here on the 1 minute candle. So you can see impulsive breakdown. Here's your resistance that I pointed out on that other trend line. Breaks down, runs up and does a back test, and you can see we overshoot that a little bit. You like to see that where they kind of overshoot it, and then the next candle was a sell-off. And so that was your spot of entry, or a good spot of entry basically, and now it's continuing to sell off. So looks good. Now this could run up and back test some more and kind of gyrate today, but I'd expect at some point we'll get a gap down, or a nice firm sell-off. It could be right now. Could be happening right now. And I want to wrap this video up talking about the dollar, gold, and bonds. I think there's a good trade there. And here's the thing: everybody expects gold to go higher, the dollar to go down. That's a very crowded trade right now. And I've been a gold bull, really. If you go back and look at my older videos, I was always talking about gold stocks, gold mining stocks, and how those looked like a great opportunity, and they turned out to be a great opportunity. Barrick Gold went up, almost 200% since I was buying it, and that's great. And I still think gold long term is a great opportunity, but in the short term, I think there's a pullback coming in gold and the dollar. So here's bonds. I look at the BND and the TLT are two ways that I like to look at the bond market. But you can see here we had a little bit of a dip. We're starting to see some buying coming back in. And I'm expecting bonds to move higher, at least in the short term. That's BND. TLT here. This is your 20-year Treasury. So I was looking for where the support was, and I found it right about here. It looks like it's pretty clean at about 162.07. And that jives really well with this false breakdown. So you can see we broke down. It was a false breakdown, and now bonds are starting to recover. This TLT starting to recover. So looks good. I think this continues to go higher. Rates continue to go lower. And we'll look at gold here. Well, actually, the dollar. Here's what's going on in the dollar. If I go to the hourly, it shows it a little cleaner. So we've got this bearish, or sorry, this bullish falling wedge. It is slowly wedging, and we continue to work our way, kind of make a little bit lower lows, like marginal new lows, and then break higher. So you can see today we're breaking pretty impulsively, including yesterday, but we're moving impulsively up to the top end of this this channel. And if I go to the daily, to me it looks like this is not a bear flag. Because you're falling, and the flag to me just seemed, the flags usually are ascending, moving up. So you'll have your flagpole, and then you'll have kind of a ascending counter move on low volume, which would be your flag, and then you'll continue the downward move. But this is moving down, and you have bullish positive divergence as well. See your divergence right here, nice positive divergence there and there in the PPO and the RSI as prices continue to make new lows. So momentum is increasing as prices continue to drop. So I think we break to the upside and move up and do a back test of 95. For gold, that continues to look like a back test of 1790. And continuing to look, this looks like a bear flag where we're breaking down, kind of consolidating sideways, and then we continue the move down, and that's going to play out. So PAAS, this is working out nicely. I actually added to this yesterday. The reason why I did that was, let me show you. Here was your resistance. You can see on the daily chart, we broke down, gapped down, came back and did a back test right there. There's your back test at 36.23. And then broke down again, came back, closed just underneath 36.23 on this day. You can see that really thin body of that candle. And then the next day we popped above it, but instantly failed. And that showed me that, that told me, here's the hourly, just to show it a little more clear. Pop up, here's the open, and it closed. That showed me that that was a false break higher. And I added to my short right there. And then that's up 2% or so. I'm up 2% on that addition right now. This continues to work its way lower. So on the daily here, I think we head down to 30.50 and 26. Those both look good. And I like to step in early. I don't wait for that level. I kind of step in early a little bit. And just show you guys DocuSign here again. It's continuing the downward motion. You can see that the selling is continuing. So this is continuing to look. And here's Barrett Gold. Barrett Gold, is actually holding pretty, it's not selling off like I think that it should be, but gold hasn't really broken yet. So when gold breaks, this will probably break down. Here's gold. It's just consolidating sideways. But when gold breaks, this sideways consolidation of Barrett, I think, is going to break too. We're going to come down a little bit. So again, what I'm looking for is not a big sell-off in gold, about a 10% sell-off in gold bullion. That should lead to, a sell-off in these miners, and, could get us down to, I don't know, maybe this 2250, I think would line up with a 10% sell-off in gold bullion, maybe a 22% sell-off in the miner, or, possibly this 2470. I don't exactly know. But these are levels I've got marked out. So I'm going to wrap the video up there. If anyone has any stocks or trade ideas they want me to... Oh, and a fellow subscriber actually was told me about this Winnebago a while back, And it's funny because I didn't change this trend line that I had marked out here. But here's the trend line that I had on this WGO, which was Winnebago. And that's where I found support. I thought that that's where this thing might sell off to. And yesterday it hit that. So congratulations on anyone who took that trade, or and also the subscriber who pointed it out. I do appreciate, trade setups. If you find trade setups or things that make sense technically, then point them out. Let's all see if we can, get on the same trade. And so again, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that. Catch you guys on the next one.